When done right, Bane is without question Batman's most formidable enemy. He's cunning and calculated, always several steps ahead of where you think he is. He's a physical powerhouse who enhances his strength and stamina with a super steroid venom. It's highly addictive and manually dispensed from a series of tubes that run directly into his brain through the back of his mask. Bane is very similar to Batman. The two grew up without any parents in their lives. They taught themselves as much as they could to expand their knowledge and exhaustingly train their bodies to peak physical condition. Though the environments they found themselves in were vastly different, their immense will is what kept them centered, kept them alive. Bane's origin story was covered in his debut issue from January of 1993. He was an orphan forced to serve his father's life sentence in the Pene Duro prison in the fictional Latin American country of Santa Prisca. He learned to fight and kill to protect himself from some of the most violent inmates on Earth. He read books and worked out whenever he could to hone his mind and body. He would be involved in an experimental procedure that killed all previous test subjects to turn him into a super soldier. Ever since he was a child, he had been haunted by visions of a bat creature in his dreams, and hearing of the legend of Batman, someone who used fear to keep the criminals of his city in line, Bane believed it was his destiny to challenge and defeat Batman to take over his kingdom. Bane viewed Gotham as a form of prison in its own right and wanted to conquer it just like he had conquered Pene Duro. The first major storyline Bane was involved in was Nightfall shortly after his debut. It's got to be the most powerful first impression ever made by a character in comic history. Bane systematically broke down Batman physically and mentally, while his emotions were still reeling from the death of his partner Jason Todd at the hands of the Joker a few years before, and the death of his close friend and fellow Justice League member Superman at the hands of Doomsday just months prior. Bane released all the inmates of Arkham Asylum to act as a gauntlet Batman would be forced to plow through one by one, and then when the time was right, after deducing his target's identity, broke into the home of billionaire Bruce Wayne, roughed him up, and literally snapped him in half over his knee in an image as synonymous with Batman at this point as the crucifixion is to Jesus Christ. The mentally unstable John Paul Valley, also known as Azrael, would replace the Caped Crusader for a time. He would go after Bane and easily outmatch him thanks to his upgraded armor he had fit himself with. Afterwards, the villain would be incarcerated at Blackgate Penitentiary. It's here where Bane would continue to have night terrors involving a large bat creature endlessly pursuing him. He would feel cold and darkness overwhelm his body. The Batman in all his forms would reach inside his heart to find the fear Bane had kept buried within him ever since he was a child. In his dreams, he would be saved by the stuffed bear that he confided in when he was young, named Osito. Another nightmare Bane would experience involved his father being disgusted by the sight of him, and his failure calling his son weak and saying that he should have died in the womb. All of this is pretty intense and gives you a look inside Bane's psyche. Bane had been addicted to venom, and if his body went longer than 12 hours without it, he would suffer some painful side effects. He found a way to push through the convulsions and got his addiction under control during his sentence at Blackgate. However, he had grown out of shape and was a shell of his former self. This made him an easy target for the KG Beast, who sought to prove his superiority against the man who broke Batman. Beast would declare himself king of the prison. Bane would suffer a broken nose, bruised trachea, dislocated ribs, and a fractured leg as a result of the attack. He refused drugs of any kind and endured all the agony alone. Bane's therapist would bring him a stuffed bear as a gift, and Bane would later conceal a blade inside of it and use it to stab a prisoner to get locked in solitary confinement for 6 months. While inside, he flushes the rest of the venom out of his system and gets jacked once more. He beats the tar out of KG Beast in the prison's laundry room to put him in his place, and it's enough to persuade the Russian to help Bane and lure the guards away so he can make his escape. Bane would return to Gotham and go on a rampage to find the source of a venom drug ring he had learned about in Blackgate. He even teams up with Batman to stop it. The two end up fighting, and Bane realizes he has no chance against a fully rested Dark Knight without his venom. He knows he is guilty of breaking Batman and taking over his city, but he feels his addiction weakened him and poisoned his mind. Batman was never his true enemy. He calls himself innocent and tells Batman to stop hunting him. Bane would soon leave Gotham in pursuit of his father's whereabouts. During his search, Bane would inadvertently come to blows with Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins. Bane would make an attempt to court his daughter Talia and take the place of Batman as his proposed heir. Behind Ra's back, Bane secretly learns of the Lazarus Pits and the ley lines around the Earth carrying their restorative energy. His advances towards Talia go too far, and Ra's has Bane imprisoned in the deepest, darkest cell he can find. Bane would escape and capture Talia. He reveals his knowledge of the Lazarus Pits, his intention of replacing her father and leading the League of Assassins, gaining immortality and stealing her heart from Batman so he can conquer yet another aspect of his formerly broken enemy. Despite his best efforts, Bane is unable to go toe-to-toe with Ra's and his skill with a sword. The head of the demon says it's because he lacks grace. Bane may have been bested, but he is allowed to live and serves under Ra's as his newest Ubu manservant. Ra's al Ghul plans to wipe out billions on Earth using an ancient Wheel of Plagues designed by a civilization believed to have discovered DNA. He has Bane rotate the sections of the wheel to configure and decipher countless deadly viruses he intends on creating and releasing. Though Bane's identity as Ubu remains a mystery at first, Batman eventually discovers his involvement in the terrorist plot. At the end of this storyline, called Legacy by the way, Batman and Bane fight at the docks. Bane refers to himself as a god and his own master, and that he and Batman are fighting for the future of humanity. Batman says Bane is simply a maniac. He was never a god, only a man. He has become a servant of Ra's al Ghul and nothing more. Bane's relationship with Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins would deteriorate, and while continuing the search for his father, he would destroy as many Lazarus Pits as he could to try and deny Ra's immortality. Bane would eventually locate his long-lost father, the blind drug lord Edmund Dorrance, aka King Snake, leading a portion of the cult of Cobra. During a firefight with Batman, Bane would be mortally wounded protecting his enemy. Batman would return the favor by saving him, submerging Bane in a Lazarus Pit to cleanse and restore him. Leaving the 1990s, Bane was stuck as a supporting character for years, and it took him a very long time to escape the shadow of his initial storylines. His breaking of the bat has been referenced so many times throughout the decades that it's hard to come up with anything else of note that this character has done in the comic books. It's kind of sad. There was a Superman-Batman series from the late 2000s that had Bane supplying venom venom to criminals around the globe. He would fight Batman, who had been temporarily imbued with Superman's powers, the result of Banshee's magic. I love how Batman sends a message to Bane using heat vision to form a flaming bat symbol. As you could probably guess, Bane is torn apart when they fight, quite literally. He's punched so hard by Batman that venom ooze leaves his body through the torn flesh of his back. It's disgusting. Starting in the early to mid-2010s, Bane took on a more militarized approach, with an army of goons at his command. He had built up quite the reputation in prison, and had the desire to conquer the untamable city of Gotham and defeat its legendary protector, Batman. He also clashes with the Court of Owls, and pumps his soldiers full of venom to try and take them down. I think the last truly great appearance he made was in the Arkham War story. He had this obsession with proving Batman was afraid of him. His army, consisting of Blackgate prisoners, go up against Scarecrow and his army of Arkham inmates. Bane stumbles across a storage site of undead talons and plans to make them his latest weapons. Knowing the Arkham crazies don't fear him like they do Batman, Bane has the strange but awesome idea of forging bat armor for himself, and uses it to seize control of Wayne Tower from Scarecrow, Killer Croc, and their forces. He then starts recruiting more followers by offering everyone safe haven at the tower from the lunatics terrorizing the streets. Scarecrow would end up waking up the Talons and use them to get back at Bane. He and the other villains also drink venom-laced wine, which turns them all into superhuman monsters. In the end, Bane would stand victorious in the type of coat made popular by The Dark Knight Rises, directed by Christopher Nolan. Batman would return and face Bane, refusing to admit he has any fear towards him. Batman gets knocked down with the giant W from his Wayne Enterprises building, but the Caped Crusader gets the big W against the Roidhead by smacking him upside the skull with part of the stone statue of the fountain display. I guess I should mention the City of Bane storyline. It's from the Rebirth continuity, but despite its title, barely had any Bane in it at all. He worked alongside Thomas Wayne from the Flashpoint timeline to break Batman both mentally and physically. Thomas's motivation was to ensure his son stopped being Batman. He wanted him to live a happy life and settle down with Catwoman. It's very anticlimactic. I recommend you don't read it. Thomas would shoot Bane in the head, and while he was in prison recuperating from the battle with his son, Bane would get some revenge and break Batman Sr.'s back. Kind of a shit story. Bane is one of my favorite Batman villains when he is written correctly. He's his equal both physically and psychologically. I've always found his design to be so badass. The luchador mask, gloves, and venom dispensing device with the tubing are just so memorable. The moment he broke Batman's back and put him out of action for months is difficult to forget. One of the most recognizable sequences in the entire history of the Batman character, and I've said it numerous times before, but it's my favorite splash page ever. It's right in your face. It sends such an impactful message. Let me know your opinions on Bane as a villain down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, share it, and subscribe to my channel for more content in the future. I will see you all in the next one. Take care and stay nerdy.